Well, back to the housing crunch in Maine with not a lot of inventory out there. Many people are choosing new construction.
Here to tell us more about that process are Skylar Welch from Maine Pointe Lending and Connie Minervino from Atlantic Coast Title Company. Good morning to both of you. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
So we are seeing a lot of people turn to new construction. Skylar, maybe you could talk about what that entails on your end.
Absolutely. So I think that the problem is that we've had such a lack of inventory. We had a very big influx of people moving to Maine during COVID because they now could work remotely, and they're like, wow, I can buy a house for this price, get all of this land, all these things. But what that caused was such an influx of buyers that there just weren't enough homes for them to buy. So what happened was people were making aggressive offers, not going under contract, kept happening over and over and over again. People were getting really frustrated. So a lot of people wanted to turn to new construction, which has really blown up over the last couple of years. One of the biggest things that has led to that is that there now are a lot more lending options for people that are looking to build a home. It used to be that you had to buy the land, which required 30% down, then you had to put 20% down in the new construction, and that's just not obtainable to a lot of people, but it's really not obtainable to especially a first-time home buyer or someone that isn't selling a home and having all of that equity. So now there are new construction lending options for people with as little as 5% down. We have VA construction loans with no money down. You know, these are really, really great opportunities and really opening the opportunity to a lot more people to be able to build a home if they're not able to find an existing property.
Now, of course, you look for a home, you buy a home, then you have to close on a home. Take folks through the process right there and how easy it is, how difficult it is, and what they need to come with to the table.
Okay, so obviously closing is very stressful, and the whole process leading up to the closing probably even more stressful. It's important to be with a good team, a lender who works with that title company often, and a builder that the title company is familiar with, all very helpful. We're going to guide them to the closing with what they need to bring, license, the check, obviously, things like that. But I think it's most important for a closing, certainly for me in all the years that I've been doing it, is when I go into a closing, first and foremost, I want to be able to present the information in a concise manner, bullet points, so that the buyer is not overwhelmed or lost in the weeds of a stack of paper that's that high. You want to be sure they're leaving with the information they need to be successful when they leave your closing. So things like taxes and escrows and things like that. Secondly, you must have compassion. You've got to have compassion for the people at the table, more so even in this market. Let's face it, in any market, purchasing a home is the largest financial thing someone does typically. But secondly, when there's not a lot of inventory, you don't know what that buyer is coming to the table with, what the history is. They possibly have been looking for 2 years. They may have, put in 25 offers that did not get accepted. They could have got beat out by someone with cash. So when I walk into the closing table, you got to have compassion, understanding, and the third component, you've got to laugh. You've got to have some fun, and you've got to let people relax and take in their experience, because that's the last place they are, and it's a joyous occasion.
Celebrate.
Absolutely.
Yes. End of the day, after all the stress,
right?
That's right. Planning and all of that, and finding the home.
Yep.
Full disclosure, I was a first-time home buyer a couple of years ago, and I ended up going with new construction. And I never ever thought when I started that journey that I never thought that was possible. And hearing you talk about that as well, I resonate with that. Do you think that you're still trying to get the word out there to these first-time home buyers that this is now, a real feasible thing to do?
Yeah, I would say almost like every single day I'm getting those questions. I would really like to build a house, but I can't.
Right.
Well, why do you think that you can't?
Right.
It's all about that education piece. A lot of that has to do with things like social media, putting things on social media, having classes, educating throughout the process is so, so important. I think that what happens a lot is that people just kind of listen to what their parents told them. That
Exactly.
I mean, even with buying an existing home, people still come to me, which I still can't even believe, and say, I just don't have that 20% yet. I'm like, You don't need 20%. You can buy a house with no money down. You can buy a house with 3% down, conventional percent down. Or they're so scared of PMI, thinking PMI is a really scary thing. When PMI may only be like $30 a month, right? The PMI rates have gone down so drastically. So just getting out there, educating buyers, letting them know that there are so many opportunities, but also making sure that they are really prepped and ready to go into this market in a competitive way, because you really have to be ready. You have to be working with a lender that's going to be aggressive with things, that's going to that has a local reputation, that can get those offers accepted, but also is really educated and knows how to get you through the process and put you into the right loan program.
We have like 20 seconds. Is there a big difference between closing on a new home or a one old home?
I would say the biggest thing is how the taxes work.
I was just gonna say.
And it takes up a lot of my time, and I make sure every person that leaves has an understanding. You want to be sure the assessment is as of April 1st. They could have a year based on land-only taxes. If the escrow account's adjusted, they get money back. You want to tell them, be sure they set that money aside, because the next year they could have a shortage when it reaches full assessment.
All right, there's so much to learn that we don't know about, and you are the experts. Thank you both so much for sharing all of that with us this morning.
Thank you.
First
Thank you
home
so
I
much.
bought, I don't even know what the word escrow was. I was like, what is that? Is that a small town in New Hampshire? Is that like the FBI or the NBA? Right?
Exactly.
Thank you both so much again. We appreciate it.
Thank you.